Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our first open house and interactive forum for the new ATMS platform that we have for GDOT's new Navigator platform. We really appreciate you joining this morning and want to thank ITS Georgia for helping put this whole operation together. We couldn't have done it without them. Thank you specifically to Bill Wells. His technical knowledge helps keep us going every day. So for today, we have and we'll be demonstrating the video capabilities that will be present as part of the new ATMS. And what makes this particularly of interest is that this will be the portal that is provided to our public partners who don't typically and may not be interested in using Navigator to do camera control on a day-to-day basis. And so, with that, as Tom from Skyline presents the product, we'd encourage you to ask your questions and put those into the YouTube channel's chat box as you have them. Again, please feel free to interrupt us. The whole point is that this is a nice back and forth all the way through. We have a whole slew of technical experts as well to answer any questions that you may have about the product, how it works internally on an IT side, or just what it might look like for maybe a media partner or your local PD. So with that, let me go ahead and hand the show over to Tom Burgoon from Skyline, who's going to take us through a quick presentation about what all's in this, and then we'll dive right into the platform. Tom?
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to first show a little demo. Let me get my sharing screen going. There we go. So we want to give you guys some perspective on what we're going to show you today. Is we're going to be showing you the Claris Partner Portal and Media Portal. It's the same portal. The biggest difference will be the users within that portal and then also the content in that portal. So when we look at this new video sharing approach that's been set up, we have 4 distinct security zones. Internal, which is obviously your Navigator and all your internal applications, your partners, which are all your operational partners. They can be internal DOT staff, but also your partner agencies that help you with your incident response. And then your public, obviously your Navigator, applications that you have for your public, and then the media, giving them the video, higher bandwidth video on demand so they can use it for the broadcast, or if they want to use the media portal that we have. So that's kind of the architecture of how the video is separated. Now, when we look at that in kind of realistic terms, we begin with the end in mind, right? The business drivers for the DOT and the partners are really what drives it. But most of your systems are built for your internal systems, but your partners, the public, and the media are obviously huge helps to help you guys be successful in your business driver. So you want to get the video to them, but they are distinct separate groups, and you want to service them a little differently and be able to manage them separately. So the way that we do that in the video sharing is we bring the video in once, high and low streams, and then we create separate streaming distribution groups that actually support those different groups. And what that allows us to do is it allows us, when there's an accident on the roadway, and that's something we don't want the public or the media to be sharing outwardly, we can turn off those 2 groups, that particular stream, but still have operational access to the videos for our partners and for internal usage. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. We also said, if you can see from the low box, we send that to the partners and our public groups, because those are going to be our high volume usage groups. And then the higher bandwidth we use internally because it's inside the network, and then also for the media so they can use it for broadcast quality. So that is kind of the design of this. And what we're going to show you today is our, like I said, the Claris Trusted Partner Media Portal. So it's a web application. There's no client needed. It's all HTML5 compliant. So the video doesn't need a special player or anything of that nature. You're actually looking at what we call our CLSP video, which is a low latent HTML5 compliant video format. The whole idea is to share this information and give you guys a platform that gives you your own interface to use, and we'll show you how that works. But it's really built for sharing that live view video without having the pan, tilt, zoom control. And then you can create your own dashboard, like I said, and it's secure in the way that we'll show you how the portal allows the owner of the video to decide who gets to see that video, gets to organize that video. And as a user, you get permission to see those different agencies' cameras. So it helps with that. You know, I've got 3,000 cameras. I really need these groups to see these 50 cameras, or I want, you know, your state police to see all the cameras, those types of things. So it gives you that flexibility there. So let's hit escape. We're going to go into the application here. So this is when you log into the application. I'm logged in as what we call a local admin. So what a local admin is someone that has access to their own organization, right? So I'm logged in as a GDOT organization owner, and we'll show you some of those admin features. But right now what we have is we have about 144 cameras for the solution for the demo, because we're not in production yet, but these are cameras that are in current testing with the application. But you'll see it says Skyline Claris because we're using our demo site today. But what this allows us to do, and some of these are cellular, so take a few minutes, a few seconds to spin up. But what it allows us to do is pull up these cameras from around. Go see if we can get one that pulls up a little quicker. It allows us to see streaming video, and this is video from, you know, anywhere in the state. And if you notice, comes up pretty quickly. It may have a little jumpiness because we're on the Zoom and the YouTube. But the idea here is now I know exactly which cameras I'm looking at. I can zoom into different areas. The map features that are really nice is we have the links up here. So these are links that can be added by GDOT. So it's just a take me to another website. That's a good quick reference. You can filter the content that's on the screen. So I have different device groups here. We'll show you how those are built out, but we have Atlanta cameras, we have GDOT cameras, we have local cameras. We can do it by regions. Right now we have Georgia as a region, but if we had subsets of regions in here, we could actually look at only the cameras in that region. So that would be not tied to the organization, because obviously in certain areas of the state, you're going to have GDOT cameras and then maybe county cameras or local city cameras that are in that specific region. We can create shortcuts. So I've created a couple here where it can zoom us around the state. And these ones with the little globes on it are actually global shortcuts. So this is provided by a global admin can create these and then share them out with everyone. So if we go up and hit Savannah, or we go up to Columbus, we can zoom around the state. Now, the one I want to show you here is that each user can create their own. So if I wanted to go in and zoom in on Rome, down here, I can do add new. Put a G at the front so it's easy to find. And now on the list, I have Rome. So that's where we talk about that personal interface. It allows you to kind of build this map to be more, work for what you're looking at each day and zoom into those areas. We can also add another layers. So I know that you guys had some storms last night. Still having some today. So we can add in layers like weather. We can add in buildings, and I'll show you that a little later. Incidents, which would be, from your incidents that come from your ATMS, and can feed into here in an RSS feed, so it's constantly updating. Incidents, we don't have any that are down here in Georgia, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show that to you a little later. But the other thing we can do is, because you guys are going to have a lot of cameras in here, right? We're going to want to be able to find cameras without having to zoom into a map. If you know the camera name, or you know something in that information, you can type that in and it will sort free search. So we're going to have descriptions in here that will be the descriptions that GDOT provides, and we will make those available. So it might have street names or mile markers or something of that nature that allow you to do that open search. Okay. And we can obviously hide the video here, bring it back up. We can kill the video. But one of the things I really like is, hey, I found the 4 videos I want to look at. Now I can push those over to the wall page. And the wall page is really centered around making mosaics that you want to look at for cameras around the state. So I found these 4 cameras, and now I'm actually going to go in and add some more cameras that I want to view. To the interface. So you can just click and it will auto scale. That's because right now we're in auto, and that'll scale out to 3x6. I can hide the menu here to get more video space. And as you look in here, we have what we call GDOT, right? And GDOT has all markers, which are all the markers we have listed under GDOT if I have permission to those. And then I've created device groups, which are based on kind of the which agencies these cameras are covering. Broken it out. But you can make these device groups anything you want it to be. So a camera can be in multiple device groups. So most agencies, when they're sharing, they create device groups based on making it easier to find cameras for users, or actually making it so it's regionally focused. And the way we do that is we tie our cameras to regions, which then allows us to subsort those cameras. So if we had multiple regions, instead of it being by the organization, it could be just by Atlanta, Savannah, and you'd have different sets of cameras tied to those. So it gives us the ability to sort, but also sometimes you're creating these device groups based on permissions that you want to give out to users. So if you only want to give this subset of cameras in Atlanta to the Atlanta area first responders and partners, you can actually create a group that's just those cameras. So it's easier for you to give access to those cameras. And we'll show that a little later, but I can switch this layout anytime I want. Say I want it to be this layout. And I can clear videos and I can go back to auto layout. But again, we want to make this a really good user interface for your everyday users to view this video. So we can create shortcuts, right? We can create these global shortcuts that have the cameras. I'll close those device groups. Some of these are cellular, so we are picking these up a little slower. And it saves not only the cameras, but also the layout that you have. So you can go back and you can edit these, you can update these, you can put a different camera in to these as well. So I'm going to show GDOT, different layout, different sets of cameras. So we can create, as a global group, we can create these views that we want people to have, your intersections or your interchanges that are kind of our normal areas we want to look at during the day. We can create those, but then I want to go in and create my own view, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the videos. I'm going to make a layout that I want. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add some cameras. And I'm going to pick exactly where I want them so I can do a drag and drop into the areas where I want. Move this out of the way, this makes that a little easier. So now I'm going to do add new. I'm going to make it my personal one. And now on my list, you're going to show up as Tom's #1. I can click back to the GDOT. It'll load the cameras. And then I can click back to mine, and the cameras I just loaded in there will be available. So I can make this really an interface about what I want to see every day. Oh, and then if you notice coming across the top, we have the ability to create global alerts. So this is something that I set up yesterday to come on at this time. So as I click on this, I get the welcome to GDOT first video sharing demo. This is what I typed in. So this is a call to action or an announcement thing that you can use. So we can send a, hey, check out Global View XYZ to look at an incident that's happening out there, a notice that something's going to be shut down. So you can have multiple notices going across the top here, but call to actions or announcements that you can put in there, and those can be timed ahead of time and to end at a certain time. So very helpful in kind of communicating out what to look at. And as I look in here, there's no alerts. I'm actually getting this up here. Let's go to my profile. In my profile, it shows, hey, this is the name of my profile and where I've logged in from. So this is my NATed IP address from Skyline. We also have the help manuals in here. So as you go in and go, I forget how to do this, or I have an issue, we have PDFs of the manuals that based on your user level. So if you're an operator, you only see the operator manual. If you're a local admin, you see both. And then if you're a global admin, which has greater rights, you'd see all three of these. We could shrink this menu here. And I want to go over to the admin side now. Matt, any questions before I go forward on kind of those user interfaces we want to address?
No, we don't have any in the chat box so far. But, I think one of the things that we just want to point out, and the question that you guys may have floating around your head is, if I'm using Navigator on a day-to-day basis, why might I be using this? And, the thing that this solution is really geared around is twofold, or is multifold. So, we mentioned the media partners, right? And for the local agencies, I know that you all probably get as many questions as we do about, hey, we want to see the video, what's going on with this event. And as Tom's going to get into here in a few minutes, what's really great about this platform is that when there is a big event on the interstate, this platform has the ability to give us some very high level information. It doesn't get into the nitty gritty, right? We don't want to share the details of those events with everyone. We want to keep it high level, number of lanes blocked, PD on scene, that kind of stuff. And then provide the camera feeds to both our internal management easily, as well as our media partners, such that, they're getting a good quality stream. It's not grainy, it's not pixelated. So that's number one. The other thing too, and thinking about this from, these big event management scenarios. And, I know Gwinnett has been doing a lot of this recently. I know Cobb has been doing a lot of this recently. Obviously, we've done it on the, the Mercedes-Benz side, for example. As Tom was just showing, all those views can be, those camera views and video walls can be set up in advance. They can be sent to your central command area. And more importantly, right, if you're coordinating with your PD, this video can be easily shared with them. That's the whole point. We don't have to go through this whole networking issue to make this all happen. The point is to make this and enhance, make this easier for them, enhance your relationships with them so that we can all do our jobs better. So that's my part. And actually, we do have a few comments and questions that just came in. And one of those is, when do you anticipate rolling this out? And so I'll take that and saying that, the current plan is over the summer of this year. So as you can see, we have a lot of our current cameras in right now. And while we're just demoing the partner portal of this, there are actually a whole slew of extra applications that are behind the scenes that are getting spun up right now, that Tom and his team are working on. And we'll be working on, I think, into May and until late May and June timeframe. And then let's see, where's our next one? Are aggregating all these feeds in the cloud and then distributing them from inside the GDOT network. And so let me hand that off to Tom about maybe explaining the architecture again.
Yeah, so from an architecture standpoint, all of the streaming video architecture is going to be supported within the partner agencies from and DMZs from those agencies, which they'll have controlled access to the cameras as they do today. And then for managing this will all be managed in the GDOT IT group and in VMs. So we're actually putting the applications and portals into GDOT. So it's not going out to the cloud unless someone is pulling it up and putting it into viewing in their application. So right now, when I'm connecting the cameras in GDOT, I have permission during this demo to actually connect the cameras that are being provided by GDOT's IT group.
And then one more from Michael was, are you using multicast video feeds? And I think maybe just kind of talking about, it sounds like there's a few technical questions too that we may want to just maybe touch on very briefly about some of the reconfiguration you guys worked on with GDOT IT as well as AECOM and ITS to get just adjusted.
Yeah, so one of the big things about sharing video across network boundaries is pushing multicast across those boundaries is very difficult and usually not supported by most equipment. So a lot of the cameras that may be in the field may be able to support multicast to, obviously lessen the burden on those last miles if you don't have to pull multiple copies from those fields. So we can ingest multicast here from the partners and cameras that are out there and the DOT cameras. We can ingest it, but once it goes into the streaming architecture, we're putting this into unicast, and these streaming appliances are handling the volume. So we pull a low feed once and a high feed once, and then if you want 50 copies, those 50 copies are actually coming from the streaming appliances themselves, depending on which group you're in. So if you're using Navigator, as you move forward, you will actually be connecting to the high bandwidth streaming appliance cluster, and that'll provide you your video to you in the CLSP that'll show in Navigator. So that's going to be unicast, but that is really about the kind of architecture moving forward, because we share a unicast over to the media, and when we share it out to media, that's obviously across a security boundary, and we're not going to send multicast groups out. So what we're really trying to do is take the connection point from the cameras and put it to a centralized set of appliances that are then on the network boundaries that make it available to partners. So when partners pull the video, partners can all be looking at the same video 1,000 times at the same time. It's still only one from the camera and then inside the network, but that is being managed here, that access. So it allows us to use unicast, but also reduce the amount of impact on the internal network, because we're not creating the copies internally, we're creating it on the edge to the individual users.
That's great. And one more that came in, and I think I'm going to let Charlie Farnham take this just from a higher level, if he doesn't mind, was talking about the relationship. It was a question about PTZ, and will we need to handle that through direct camera logins? And I would like you to just kind of talk about the relationship between Skyline and the Kapsch Dynec platform that'll be the next generation ATMS that'll ingest all of this.
Thank you, Matt. The ATMS, the next generation ATMS will actually be the controlling source for managing pan, tilt, zoom, and features of controlling the cameras themselves. That won't be done through the video distribution system. So the ATMS itself has camera locks such that another operator without permission can't take away from an operator that's using a camera at the present time.
Great. So Tom, I'm going to go ahead and let you take back control. And as more questions come in, we'll do another pause moment and start addressing those as well.
Okay. Great. So what I'm showing you in the background here is Matt mentioned the ability to ingest incidents, because we don't have any incidents currently being fed in. We can't show you GDOT incidents, but I wanted to show you some in the demo for Maryland. So these are live incidents. Obviously, we can see that this one here is going on a collision, and they've got some assistance vehicles out there. But this is what you would see when you get an incident. You get the information of where it's located, property damage, those types of things. And then we get this map interface. So this is the incident page. If there's no incidents, there's nothing to connect to. But as you see, it tries to pull up the 4 closest cameras that I have permission to. For some reason, I'm having some trouble with some of these coming up. It is part of our demo environment. So, but it does allow you to change those videos, right? Like, so if the actual traffic that's created by this is streaming out to the west, I can look to the cameras to the west to see the impact, or vice versa. I can look across to the cameras to the east. So you can kind of start with the incident and expand out, and how that looks on the map is very similar. Let me go back to the map. I'm going to zoom in here to where this is on the Eastern Shore. And I see that I have my incident information, same videos. And then again, we can throw this to the wall, right? We can push these to the wall and look at a broader set of cameras. But the idea here is that if I click on an incident here, it's going to take me to where that incident is. It's going to show me the 4 closest cameras that I have access to. So if my cameras are, you know, across on the other side of the state, those are the cameras I'm going to see. I might be able to see the incidents, but I can't actually see the content or the video that would correspond to those. And I think we saw one. Let me zoom out here a little bit. We saw one up here where they might have turned off the camera feeds. It was on the DC Beltway here. Go. Okay, yeah. So we're going to play videos here. And one I think you're going to notice is the scrolling chart, no video available. So this is what, because these are public feeds, this is actually what the 511 applications and sites will see. They will see, chart has decided we want to put up a replacement video to say that the video is not available. So there's always that management of, do you gray out the cameras? Do you create a replacement image for those? Maryland chose to do a replacement streaming image to say that, you know, the no video for you type of thing. Meanwhile, this video is accessible to all of the partners in their Claris portal. But because these are public feeds, these are ones that are going to get turned off to the public. So we have that option to create these replacement videos, or we can do the gray out as well. So let me go back and log out and go back in as my demo local. So we're back in the map view. And one of the things I didn't show you in the shortcuts that I think is really important is this is my default view. By the star, it shows whenever I log in, it's going to go to default view. Well, if I want to edit and I want to make Rome my default view, the next time I log in, it's going to bring me to Rome. So I get to choose what I see first, right? So that's another part of it is it's my portal, it's my interface that I'm interacting with. So I get to set those preferences. So going to the admin side, this is where right now I can only see the GDOT organization because I'm logged in as this local demo user. So we see local admins and operators. Local admins have just permission for their organization. That's why we call them local. So as a local admin, I can add users, I can remove users. So, you know, initially what we'll probably do is import a set of users for you initially, and then you can make updates as you go. And then we can create device groups. So we created these 3 device groups in here along with all markers, but I can create another one. Excuse me, I can set this device group to be only available during a certain period of time. So again, I'm managing events. Maybe there's a running event in your area, or there's a fair or state fair, those types of things where you want to create a device group that has specifically the cameras that mean something to someone. You can create these ahead of time and kind of plan these. So I'm going to create. So I have my demo devices. I want to go in and now I want to add markers. So if you look at the add markers, I only have GDOT markers, right? So in here, we can do a little search. We can do search for anything that has number 2. So it's going to serve back to me anything that has a number 2. And you see there's 48 titles. So I can expand this to look at all of those. I can check them all. I can add selected. It's going to give me a big list of everything is confirmed added. Okay, great. I'm going to close. Now I go back and I have those 48 cameras in there. Well, now I have a device group, but I haven't given anybody access to it. So it's just there. So now I'm going to go in and add users. And I'm going to search for users. So now this is where it really gets great for these local agencies. Is you notice I can see other organizations here, right? I can see there's 159 users that I can choose from. So this is where for my device group, I can give access to other organizations. So if I want to look at anybody, I'm going to give these to anybody that has police in their title. So I'm going to select all these users, right? And then add selected, it confirms for me. And now I've added my user group, 6 users to this group. If you notice, they're from all different organizations. So you can add them by sorted by the different organizations. You can search for someone by name, any of those things that you want to search for that you can add these users. And now when I'm done, I can hit done editing. And now I've created a new device group in here. If you go in here, we'll see that we have just for GDOT cameras, just the demo local has access to these cameras. That's been given permission to that device group itself. So this is how you kind of manage those device groups. Now you can give everybody access to those device groups. You can just do a select all of the users in there. But generally what you're going to see is you're going to see some organizations are going to have cameras and they're going to build device groups, but a lot of partner organizations are just going to be viewers of video. They're going to be the partners that are assisting in those operations on a day-to-day basis. So we will give, each one of those local organizations can decide who gets which access to which camera. So it's very much you're kind of controlling that access of sharing. We can add buildings, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But to add a building, it's really just you kind of go in, put the name, where the building is located. Once it's added, you can add in floors, and then you can map the cameras into your images for the floors. So you can use a picture or a PDF or a line drawing, and you can map those cameras in. So when you go on the map, it's a map of the floor plans and the different floors. Makes it very easy for users to use that. Markers are what we call cameras. These cameras and in the Claris will be provided by what we call our Stream Manager portal. It's where we manage the metadata, where we manage API distributions to the 4 different zones that we talked about. So this one would be either for the media or trusted portal zone that would feed this application. So as we make changes in the Stream Manager, new cameras, camera status, those types of things, it's automatically updated here in Claris. We have alerts, we have reports, and we'll show you a little bit of those. So these are markers viewed. So you can look at your cameras and go, who looked at my cameras, right? We've had 316 views of those cameras. Probably mostly demo, local, and me. Let's see if there's anybody else. So as we're watching, how much is this being used? In the past, this is back in November 2018. So this demo site's been around for a while. So these cams, you've been able to see these for a while, and I can export these to a CSV. So from a standpoint, if I have permissions, I can actually export this out and use these reports. And then settings, this is where each organization, a global admin will set up the organization, but this is where you go in and you update your who do I contact, what's my policies, what's the location, administration, authentication settings. So each agency can have their own authentication. So if you have LDAP that you want to tie in, we can tie that in. Obviously, that's great as far as when you want to remove users. You still have to come into the Claris to give people permission to applications, but at least your users would be updated and verified. And we can also use separate IDPs. So right now, everything's set up on local authentication within the portal. Any questions on that admin section?
We didn't have a question on the admin section, but we did have a question about the snapshots as well as the live feeds that we provide to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was hoping, again, I'm going to toss this to Charlie Farnham to talk about, what is changing between the current platform, that being, INET and the VSS capabilities that GDOT has, and where, what that's going to look like with this next generation.
Yeah, so Matt, from a video standpoint, within the ATMS itself, browser independence with HTML5, the video feed is going to be able to be directly placed within the windows of your browser without any special browser or downloadable plugins for the browser. So the control will be natively handled by the ATMS with windows for your video streams, multiple video streams, right there on your ATMS screen. So as well as, those videos can be propagated and placed on your video wall or external monitors, whatever type of device that you have. So that is something that is really enhanced with the, with the formation of the use of HTML5 and the utilization of Skyline's internal video feed protocols that we can manage within that framework. So it's a kind of a teaming effort between what Skyline brings with their video system and what the ATMS has in its use to meld the two of those together to provide a more seamless video presence.
And on a technical standpoint, I'll add to that. For those of you that have had to deal with, hey, we have a new camera in, I changed the IP, I've got to I've swapped out this axis for a Kohu and some information changed. There's always this behind the scenes playing that you got to do that's a bunch of different steps to get this integrated into the, not just Navigator, but then to the public facing 511 portion of this. And the way that this is built is it just makes that seamless. You're not going to have to go through and change 100 things. You just get it inputted in and you're off to the races. And so it takes that maintenance, if you will, quote unquote, portion of the public facing system and just kind of cuts that all out because it's just all brought right in with the Navigator portion and the Skyline portion.
Yeah, and I think the real way, Matt, to really describe that is we're going to provide APIs to the different applications, RESTful API services, so you can ping those and get those updates. So we're updating the data at a central location and then permeating it out through the APIs. And that goes for the ATMS application, that goes for 511, that goes for Claris portals. All of them will be automatically updated, as Matt said. And then as we make those updates, as you pull that information, in certain applications, we may just need to give a spreadsheet, but that it's coming from one central location, right? So we're updating at one place and then permeating out. And that's going to make the management a little bit cleaner and make sure that our data is consistent.
Another question that we had was, as talking about all the features that we're going through, is asking about the administration of the cameras. This came from Mike DeSanza. And so, this kind of ripples back to the business processes that we, GDOT, as well as, local agency partners set up about, what individuals may be allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And so that, the idea is that, the folks, for example, that are on the operations floor are going to be given a lot more latitude than someone that might be an entry-level engineer for a consulting firm that's working on one of the SIGOPS contracts. And so again, that the whole idea there is that, that can be handled on a business process end with GDOT and not it doesn't all have to go through, myself or Charlie Ray or Peter Utero. we can make this easier on folks. And then Tom, I don't know if we're gonna if you have this kind of in your agenda, will you be touching on the tour functionality?
Yeah, the tour functionality is really embedded in the Vero
right
application, which we're not showing today, which will be the embedded walls, but we can definitely show that in one of the next sessions. That's a interface that will be used, still be able to share those out, but it's a little bit more of the operators are creating the content and then sharing that content out in various walls to different end users, so that those tours will be part of that application.
Perfect. Yeah. So Mark Start, you're just gonna have to stand by and get your real world demo for the next one. So I'm gonna force you to come to the next one.
Perfect. So what I did here is I logged back in. If you guys were watching what I was doing, as I logged in as an operator. So this is an operator level, and this operator's only been given access to these cameras here. You notice a much smaller subset of cameras. So this is what it would look like for an operator that, hey, I only have access to these cameras. I can still do all the shortcuts. I can still manage my layers. I can still go to links. But as I go to my help menu, I only get the operator manual. And then if I go to my wall, as you can see, I only have the Atlanta device group, Atlanta cameras device group. So I just don't see the other stuff in there. And that's the beauty of it. It's one of those things where it's, hey, ignorance is blissful, right? If I don't know it's there, it's not a problem for me to expect it to be there. So we manage that access for those users. And then if they get additional ones, we update their user rights. And the next time they log in, they'll see additional device groups in here. So I wanted to show that feature and how it looks a little different. There is no admin down here. I do have incidents, so if there's incidents in here, I can click it. But if the incident is, way up, see the 4 closest cameras. The incidents in Maryland up here, you'd see it highlighted up here in the right corner. But my 4 closest cameras that I have access to as a user are in Georgia. Probably not going to help me very much, but that's kind of the way that we manage. You can see the incidents, but you can't actually see the content of those incidents. So I'll log back out here again. And you notice when I log in here, I go based on my username is where I will get directed for my login. So if I'm using a third-party IDP, at this point, when I hit next, it goes, oh, you're T. Burgoon. Nope, you're on the local authentication. If I was on an IDP, it would actually send me to the IDP to confirm who I am and then log me back into the application. So obviously, we're showing some of our other states that we have in the demo, but I wanted to show in here as we go into the admin. This is what it would probably look like as we go forward, right? We're going to have a lot of organizations in here. Some of them will have cameras. Some of them will just be view only, right? Georgia State Police don't have cameras. I put in some users in there. And then don't have any cameras, no markers, right? They don't have any, but they want access to cameras. So when I look at Steve, does he have any access to any device groups? He's got the demo devices. Remember, we went back and gave police permission. He only can see demo devices when he logs in. So this is where we look at these organizations and go, hey, I need to add an organization. So I'm going to add it as so we're going to go find Dave's shop, right? And now I'm a global admin. So I've created Dave's shop, but in order to give him local admin, I'm going to have to going to call him D shop. makes me put in the right email address, or at least a pseudo email address, and then I have to create a password, and it has to match, it has some value characters to it. And then I'm going to make him the local admin. So now when Dave will send him his username and password, and when Dave logs in, he will be able to come in and manage his organization, add his users, do those things. So as the global admins, they're going to be setting up the organizations, creating a local admin, and then that allows Dave to come in and manage his groups. He can add users, and then Dave's going to be responsible. Hey, if I want access to GDOT cameras, I'm going to have to reach out to GDOT and say, can I get access to your cameras for my users? And then that local admin for GDOT can then go in and give them permission. So it gives you a lot of control. We're dispersing that control to the organizations to say, add your users, and then make the request, and making that request to add people very fluid and easy for the organizations. Now, initially, what we'll probably do as we roll this out is we will work with GDOT and the partners to say, all right, what's our base level data information? So we can do imports of Excel templates, that with different Excel templates where we can upload the users or markers. You know, typically we're going to add users and then assign them roles, and maybe give them device group permissions to start with. So we can do a start base, but as we go through the kind of ongoing growth, you can make those updates real time. And so we go back here to these reports. So we have markers viewed. So now we're going to see all the markers that have been viewed for the different agencies. So if you look back over time, we've had 35,000 views. This demo site's been up for a while. I don't actually want to pull all those up. That would be bad. It's going to take a while. So as we go into these, we want to view the 100. I may have just froze myself up here. Oh, there we go. So it did the 100, and then we can look at these. When was it happening? Say we go in and we go, oh my gosh, I need to look at this camera. Someone put it up somewhere where it shouldn't be. It has little in the name. I can go back and see who looked at it and when, and then follow up from there. Other global reports gives your user reports, gives you a list of users. Your buildings reports, user login history. So this is all the logins and who's been going in here. And then we can say logged in users report right now. I'm the only one logged into the demo right now. And markers, buildings, floors, all of those. Here's where we would add links. Here's where we create the region. So these are separate from the organizations. These are geographical regions, and then you can tie cameras as you add them in your organization to the specific regions. And then when we go to settings, this is where we put in an icon. We'll put in a navigator GDOT icon in here. We reset the maps. Here's where we tie into our stream manager, which is doing the updates. We have a specific stream manager API key. And then we have the different settings in the system that we can create. So we have log out times as well, and we can turn on those different features. Some of the stuff we do in the background because it's hard programmed in. And then I want to show global device groups is another thing where we can go, you know, we create device groups with time. A global admin can come in here and create a global device group and create connections to that device group for a short period of time. So different events within a city, those types of things where you want to have a device group that has all those cameras, and you're just from different organizations, and you want to go in and say, hey, these are the 20 cameras you need to see. They're from 5 different organizations, and then you can give that permission on a set period of time. And because these are stored, we can go back in and use that historical information, right? So if we created one for Atlanta Marathon, right? You're going to have one every year usually. So we're going to go back in and we can reactivate the old one and then update the permissions. I want to show you real quick before we, on the map layer, the buildings. So building shows up as a yellow icon. And then when you click on it, you have your information box, and then you can choose which floor you want to be on. So here we choose a floor, which is just a simple line drawing. And we map the cameras are mapped into the locations, because I don't know what this camera's name is. I just know it's this back door. I want to look at the camera. So this talks to if you have critical infrastructure, if you have buildings that you want to add into this to provide to your partners, you do have a forum. So you can, switch between levels and look at the different cameras on those. And then one of the great things, we have schools that use this type system. They actually add in a separate PDF, which is kind of your response plan that's available, so they can go in, who do you call, where do you, rally points, those types of things for those buildings. So it's a nice ability to be able to know that you have this. You can add it in. For DOTs, a lot of times it's more about tunnels, bridges, infrastructure that you guys have to manage. And then one of the things I do want to mention too is that obviously we provide cameras in Tennessee and South Carolina, border states for you guys. So we would love to talk to about sharing those cameras on those border areas back and forth. So it's, if something's happening on the border here in the different states, it's obviously going to affect your areas within your state. So it's good to be able to share that information in these portals, given the right permissions. Any other questions, Matt?
It does not look like we've had any new ones, but as you were going into that, I immediately thought of the folks in SIGOPS who work up in the Chattanooga area, who work down the Savannah area. Again, the idea here is that we're not gonna be banging our heads against a wall trying to help share this information with our partners in other states. This becomes pretty easy for them to get in and share information back and forth pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, both states have a Claris portal like this that they use for their partners. I think in Tennessee they call it SmartWay Plus. In South Carolina they've stuck with Claris, but so you would just be actually sharing. They would give you data on their cameras, and it would just be like another organization in like we saw in the admin section.
And Tom, just as a quick time check for you, it is 9:55, so we have about 5 minutes left before we run out of time.
Yeah, I think I've covered everything I was hoping to show everybody, but did want to leave some time for some questions. I'm just going back into my global in case there's anything specific you guys want to see. I have complete access in here.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of answering the group's questions as they've come. Like as mentioned, we still have about 5 minutes. So, to the crowd that's still here, if you have any questions, be it specifically about this, about the ATMS, technical, high level, we're happy to get those answered.
See a couple FLIR cameras in there. And then Matt, as we move forward, again, this is only a small subset of the cameras. I think we'll as we roll out the UAT version of Claris, as we're kind of moving forward in the project, there'll be a lot more content obviously in here. We can obviously do a follow-up session with this, but also follow up with the Vero interface there as well.
And yeah, and Michael had a question, and I want to make sure that I'm answering it correctly about video analytics. Michael, do you mean like automated incident detection, video analytics? Do you mean like how people are using the CCTVs? What are you trying to get at with that question? And I'll give you a chance to type that in. Great. So the question is about automated incident detection. So right now, that is done. What's interesting about that is that it does not require it to be plugged in directly into the ATMS or even this portal. What's great about the platform that we're currently using right now, which is Traffic Vision, on some of our corridors, is that they actually take the low resolution feeds that we provide over the 511 and run their system that way. So the intention longer term is to bring that in to the ATMS so that as an incident happens, right, it can just automatically generate a flag in the system and create an event such that we can start managing it. And it was touched on briefly, and I'll speak about it in terms of the analytics on just like how people are using these cameras. It may not sound overly exciting to figure out which cameras are being used the most and why should we care. But as we as a department and as local agencies might take a look at is how are our cameras being used on a day-to-day basis. If a camera on the downtown connector probably is going to be used very regularly and is brought up, all the time, that may change, our desire to change that camera to what we would consider a critical camera. So, for us and our contract with the ITS maintenance contractor, DTS, we may be saying, we had this in the general category, we've got to bump this up. People use this all the time regularly. We've got to make sure that they have access to it. Whereas one that we thought might be critical down on the south managed lanes, we may see it never gets used, in which case we can back that off. And so it helps us make smarter decisions in terms of maintenance on the tail end. And right now we just don't really have that view into the system. And then Michael's follow-up question about the video analytics and where it is. So right now, you're right, it is down in on 475, but we have actually expanded it up to the connector as well as the south managed lanes. And we're trying to determine our path forward and in terms of what we want to do as an agency and on a more holistic and global scale. So with that, we are at time. We appreciate all the really great questions that you guys have. Please feel free to send any of them that you may have directly to me, later on as you think about them. We try to send out regular updates about what's going on with the ATMS procurement, its rollout, what it's going to look like for you, and how it's going to impact your daily operations. If you are on any of the GDOT contracts or any of the local agencies, please feel free to stay in contact with us. We love talking about this. This is very exciting to us. If desired, again, please feel free to shoot me a direct email to subscribe to our bi-weekly and monthly updates with different system feature information. And with that, we are 1 minute over, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you again to everyone. Thank you, Tom and ITS Georgia, Bill Wells, for getting this all hosted for us. We couldn't have done it without you. And have a great afternoon or great morning and weekend, everyone. Thank you.